Ach, ich soll Clayton eh hier finden. Tag.
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
Oh, der ist gesund.
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you?
Nö, ich komm nicht
I
von
guess
hier.
your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
How did you become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job I've found. And it pays well, too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
Most people don't become thugs when unemployed. This is a choice you made.
I don't care what you think, sir. I do what I have to do for my own reasons, and that's that.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would agree with your by all means necessary philosophy, sir.
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here? Barrett can be as sneaky as anyone. Long ago, I even called the bastard my best friend.
Hab ich die schon gemacht? Irgendwas benötigt.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine, and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Okay, dann geh wieder.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
For now. For now. Da sind nur irgendwelche. Bleiben Sie zu Hause? Nicht in der Öffentlichkeit husten. Ich drück immer auf X, um zu hüpfen, aber der Herr hüpft ja nicht. Ist ich jetzt so fein dafür?
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
Ich könnte dich gesund machen.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
That science is unable to explain the facts doesn't mean there is no rational explanation.
I confess, I share your point of view, Doctor.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
It's a disgrace. People are left to die alone. No one is properly informed of the risks.
These are bad times indeed. So much for the glorious British Empire.
Ich muss ja sagen, ich würde ja eh glauben, dass die informiert werden müssen, ja gar nicht die Zeitung lesen.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
Okay.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Okay. Okay. Persönliche Frage, was benötigt?
I heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. They are wary of strangers, and I'm not really an acquaintance of theirs. Why do you care?
I'm a doctor, Mr. Darby. I care about everything involving public health and this epidemic.
Are you sure you're not just concerned about the repercussions that a scandal involving a certain Nurse Crane from the Pembroke Hospital would bring?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby. What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious. Never goes out. Doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
He has no relatives at all?
No. Except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nethercott, who sometimes comes by. Darius would never let him in.
Where can I find this Mr. Nethercott?
He spends most of his time lurking around Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring verses. These days, you can usually find him behind the church.
Danke für die Info.
He never goes out?
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really? How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
Und du willst nicht von mir untersucht werden? Ich könnte was geben. Bist du wieder happy? Bist du schon müde? Ach so, nee, ich muss 3 Hinweise und dann kann ich dir das geben. Gut, ich hab's verstanden. Hab doch Mitleid mit mir. Ich bin doch immer noch so doof. Okay. Oh, es gibt so viel zu tun, so viel zu lernen. Oida, was bist du denn für ein?
Forgive my interruption.
Ach, Oide. Ist ja ein Oida.
Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
Oh, so einer. Dem geht's gut.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences. And most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition.
Ach, okay, gut. Persönliche Fragen geht keine.
Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
Okay. Moment.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Ja, wird er nicht, weil er ja stirbt. Und verreckt.
I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye.
Musst du jetzt hier rumklopfen? Das stört ja überhaupt nicht, während ich mit Leuten rede. Mann, 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 ey. Kerl. Ist es nicht dumm, hier lang zu laufen? Und hack! Ah! Ich will immer schön warten, bis ich fertig bin mit Aussaugen. Komm. Die Kopf, ey. Was wird das jetzt? Wäre ein kleiner Haufen an Kram, den ich gefunden habe irgendwie. Oder liegt noch jemand? Ja, kennen wir. Na, diese Plakate, das ist schon cool, aber wenn immer das gleiche ist, ist es doof. Also finde ich jetzt. Meiner Meinung nach. Wenn der Richard da finden. Ach ne, das ist der andere. Oder? Kannst du hier rum?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really? Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir. Richard Nethercott, at your service.
Erkältung. Oh, der arme Kerl.
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable, if you ask me. Especially with strangers.
But are you not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
Okay.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
Wissen wir beide das?
What are your thoughts on the terrible situation in this city?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
My mother loved poetry. Perhaps your words would have touched her sensitive nature. I only see a dreadful disease.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
Gute Frage.
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
Okay. Komischer Typ. Komischer Typ.
I understand your need for solitude, but it's not safe around here.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
I don't have friends. I have just one.
If some misfortune came upon you, who would be here to help you?
Well, you for a start, my dear Doctor.
Ja, super.
Tell me, Mr. Nethercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir. Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much, and that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
Okay. Okay.
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives, how she survives, whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
In what way, exactly?
The struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles and the arid hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox, the stripped humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
Gut. Gut.
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not? I'll be glad to help you, if I can.
I'm looking for Dorothy Crane, a nurse who lives in this vicinity.
Dorothy Crane. Oh, I love the name. The Crane of Whitechapel. Sounds very mysterious. But, sorry, no, never heard of her.
Ja, und was ist mit Darius?
What can you tell me about an old man called Darius?
Darius Petrescu? Yes, I know him. At first, I thought he was only a small publisher. I invited him to publish my work, but his reaction was pretty clear.
Not interested in your talent?
Darius is an old political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writing skills.
Oh. Dann gehe ich wieder. Kann ich. Jetzt habe ich noch was nicht. Und das freigeschaltet hier auch nicht.
I'll leave you alone, sir.
Dann gehe ich wieder. Achso, ich sollte besser darum gehen. Blumenstrauß. Ein kleiner Blumenstrauß, ein Gutschein für eine kostenlose medizinische Untersuchung ist zwischen den Blumen versteckt. So, Moment. Hier ist noch ein bisschen Zeug, was rumliegt. Hallo? Ach so, okay. Da ist noch was, das gleiche. Und hier ist der Kumpel. Oh! Das war der Brief! Das war der Brief. Ich muss mich jetzt gerade anders hinsetzen, aber wenn ich so weit weg sitze, ist die Schrift so klein für eine kleine Mira. Meine lieben Kinder, es tut mir so leid, dass ihr einige Monate lang nichts von mir gehört habt. Die Lage in London war schwierig. Ich weiß, es klingt vielleicht egoistisch und töricht, wenn ihr, meine Kinder, noch in einem Land lebt, das vom Krieg heimgesucht wird. Aber auch hier in England tobt ein Krieg. Ein Krieg gegen Armut und Ungerechtigkeit. Diesen Krieg will ich trotz meines fortgeschrittenen Alters führen. Deshalb schreibe ich euch heute. Ich werde nicht nach Rumänien zurückkehren. Das bedeutet, ich sehe euch wahrscheinlich nicht wieder, bevor ich sterbe. Seid nicht traurig, meine Lieben. Ihr seid mittlerweile erwachsen und habt selbst Kinder. Ihr wisst, welche Opfer wir manchmal bringen müssen, um die Welt einen besseren Ort zu machen. Dieses muss ich nun bringen, damit ich mich noch ein letztes Mal nützlich fühlen kann. Ich wünsche euch ein langes und glückliches Leben. Gebt meinen Enkeln einen Kuss von mir. Vergesst nicht, dass euer Vater euch auch weit ab der kalten Heimat liebt. Euer ewig liebender Vater, Darius Prescott.
The content of Darius' letter to his children could give me more leverage to enter. Darius is a bit less of a mystery now. It should not be that difficult to incite him to let me in.
Tag.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you a few questions. I know what you're thinking. A tall stranger who meets a girl in the street at night. It reeks of the penny dreadfuls. But I mean you no harm, truly.
Geht nicht? Sehr, sehr. Gesund, gesund. Gesund, gesund, gesund. Oh, schön.
I know you understand what I'm saying. Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it?
Ich sag nix, ich sag nix.
Camellia, I know you work for Dorothy Crane. Please tell me about her secret dispensary. A stubborn and mute comrade. Nurse Crane and Darius Petrescu have been clever. Tell me about Richard Nethercott. I understand he is quite fond of you, Camellia.
Schade. Gut.
Very well. Goodbye then.
Ich muss wieder in die Richtung. Ach, da ist noch unbekannt. Wieso bin ich jetzt hier eigentlich lang gelaufen? Ich habe gedacht, ja, hier ist bestimmt gut, wenn man da so lang laufen kann. Bringt mir hier gar nichts, oder? Naja, aber ich habe es mal ausprobiert. Moment, kann ich, wenn ich da hoch mache? Ne, da komme ich jetzt hier nicht runter. Weil der Mann ja nicht springt. Hoi, Eude.
Don't be shy, handsome. What can Christina do for you?
I'm not looking for what you're selling. But I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. I'm a doctor. Dr. Reed.
All right then, but be quick. Though I usually get paid when I open my mouth.
Ha! Ha! 4 und Erschöpfung. Alle sind erschöpft. Oh, die armen Leute.
Christina, have you been examined? The epidemic is spreading fast in London, and you could be exposed, or expose others.
I don't like doctors or hospitals, but I don't like you asking questions.
Considering your line of work, I assure you it is only a matter of time before you have health issues.
If it is going to happen, it will happen. Right now, I need money. That's what's important.
Ja, kann ich. Ich kann sie da verstehen manchmal.
You can put your own life in danger, that's your decision. But what about your clients? If you're contaminated, you will put them in danger too.
And you think that would worry me? If you knew the men I deal with, their health would not be what you'd worry about.
Weil jetzt hier so ehrlich, also nicht, dass ich jetzt hier irgendwie was mit dem horizontalen Gewerbe, horizontalen Vertikalen, ich habe keine Ahnung, mit dem Rotlichtbezirk was zu tun habe, aber wie oft hat man schon gesagt, okay, ich bin krank, ich gehe trotzdem zur Arbeit. Und das macht mir jetzt nicht, weil es so viel Spaß macht, krank auf der Arbeit zu sein. Das hat seine Gründe.
Clayton Darby claims he will expose the crisis in Whitechapel to all of London. Do you believe him?
I believe Clayton's courage will erode with time, until he finally leaves Whitechapel to start another fight somewhere else.
Die kennen sich. So.
Are you talking from experience?
I've seen your type come here to get a good fuck in a cheap room or a dark alley before going back to their fancy houses in the West End.
Gut.
Why this skepticism?
How can you speak about starvation if you've never been hungry? Or about poverty? Or anything else you have never suffered from?
Okay, ja, sie hat einen Punkt. Physische Fragen?
Tell me about yourself.
Are you joking with me? People don't usually come to see me for conversation.
I have no interest in your work. I am, however, curious as to what led you into this career.
Short story. The war, exile, and England. This country is not especially welcoming. I've been refused many jobs because of where I am from. I had few options left.
I always thought I was the master of my own fate. But now I know we don't always have control over our lives. I don't judge you.
You know, this money is not only for me. I have good reasons to need this money quickly. But it is not your concern, Doctor.
Jo, wahrscheinlich ist ein Kind.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Anything you can tell me about her would be helpful.
I don't know her, but I know her name is Dorothea Crasionescu. She came from Romania like me and many others.
You seem to respect her.
Dorothea helps the sick people of Whitechapel. Everyone should respect that.
I love this effect. Und du bist immer noch nur Schätzchen.
Goodbye, miss. Take care of yourself as best you can.
Jo. Es wird Zeit, dass wir dieses Mesmerieren besser dingsen. Also nicht, dass ich jetzt alle aussaugen will, aber ein paar schon. Ich weiß, hier war irgendwo ein Unterschlupf, da ein Händler, da ein Unterschlupf. Ich schaue jetzt, ob ich zum Unterschlupf komme, bevor ich zum Darius gehe. Wo war der nochmal?